to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First item on our agenda is going to be, we received, I think, a thank you letter from the MTA, Mission Transit Authority, and so, at this moment, I will turn it over to the powers that be to see what we want to do. Has anybody seen the powers that be? They must be here someplace.
It's actually a letter that we're giving to the Central President.
That's right. So do we want a photo op? Is somebody here from that group?
We are. We're going to let's read it and then we'll be ready.
All right.
Dear MTA board members, we, the Shelton City Commission, want to thank you for your generous grant of a surplus van from your van pool for the use of the City of Shelton's Municipal Court Community Service Program. As you became aware, the program's van was in serious need of replacement since it's been transporting community service work crews to and from work sites in the city since 1991. We truly appreciate the value you place on giving back to the community and also believe in the good stewardship of the local taxpayer's dollar. In this case, the van will continue to be used to benefit citizens of Shelton with your great work of the community service program. Thank you again. The van will be put to good use. Sincerely, Mayor Gary CRONCE, Commissioner TRACY Moore, and Commissioner MCDOWELL.
All right. Does somebody want to come forward and receive this?
We have Mike from MTA.
Mike, you want to say a few words tonight, Mike?
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay.
On behalf of MTA, thank you very much. I'm glad you guys can use this van. I just want to say thank you for the last year. You guys have changed and transitioned for MTA as far as being very helpful for us, as far as bus shelters and police department, fire department, events and training exercises and stuff. I just want to say thank you for being a community partner with us and making sure we're helping, whether it's at the transit center or at Johns Prairie, whatever it may be. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys' help.
All right. Any questions or comments for Mike? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Next is our basic weekly commission reports. And Commissioner Moore, did you have some activities to talk about?
Yes, on Wednesday afternoon I had a meeting with some people at the cemetery. They are trying to determine how they can make improvements up there. And then that evening I have a Timberland Regional Library Board of Trustees meeting where I will be greeting them and thanking them for bringing their board meeting to our city. On Thursday, I'm going to go to Music in the Park. It was difficult because there is also a school function that night as well. And then on Friday, I am going to go do the funnest thing on earth, which is bingo karaoke out at the Senior Center. And that's my week.
All right. Thank you very much. Commissioner McDowell?
Tomorrow I have my Board of Health board meeting. Wednesday I have Memorial Hall board meeting, and Thursday I will be going to the forum for the school. That's it.
Concludes
Yes,
your
that
commission
concludes,
report.
yes.
All right. I have no scheduled meetings this week, but today I did have the opportunity to attend Love Inc.'s annual golf tournament. And Love Inc. is a local nonprofit that raises money and helps distribute it to low-income and homeless needs in our community. And it's been, I think, in the community and quite active for the past 3 or 4 or 5 years. And so we had a great event out there. They dropped the golf balls. And anyway, so it's a good group to support. And so I was able to be there. I do obviously have a staff briefing this week. And that concludes our weekly commission reports. Next is a general public comment, and we welcome comments from the public here. So if we have people that are signed up, this is the opportunity.
Randy Lewis.
I don't have my timer. Oh, that's right, you're doing it. Good. Phew.
I'm delivering that one. Let's start the clock. Hi everybody, Randy Lewis. First of all, let me say that in my humble opinion, Craig and his organization are doing a fantastic job. In fact, I think Railroad Avenue should be renamed Craig Gregory Railroad Avenue. I do, however, have a beef with Craig. His nephew Cody last season pushed me further down the Shelton all-time 10 list for the pole vault. Actually, I'm surprised after all these years I'm still in the top 10. And believe it or not, I'm still in the top 10 in the long jump. Yes, I know, that was about 100 pounds ago. Tom Lowe, who spoke with me 2 weeks ago, is a true Shelton icon who has a school record that will never be broken. In 1964, Tom ran 100 yards in 9.9 seconds on a cinder track, the fastest human in Shelton history. As Tom said, this commission is without exception compassionate and caring. I know personally each has done kind things in private that they do not talk about in public. The strong are supposed to protect the weak, not exploit them, which is why we are baffled at the garbage deal. A reduction of, say, $10 in the garbage bill may not mean much to many in this room, but to many of this, as Tom has told us, poor community, $10 is huge. And as candidate Dorsey says, is this $10 or more, the full $1 million garbage loan, going to be spent by the city on must-haves or nice-to-haves? Because to many families, depriving them of even $10 or more deprives them of must-haves. We're baffled that the commission who in the last election ran on reducing debt and utility rates are doing just the opposite with the recent garbage contract. For this issue, we disagree with the commissioners, but we agree with the candidates. First of all, the commission has incurred a debt of $1 million funded by the garbage ratepayers. Second of all, we will talk about future years at a later time, but starting with day one, not only were the rates lowered, the city commission tacked on an additional 5%. The 5% utility tax is applied to the pretend base rate, which includes the embedded 26% utility tax. So what the city government is doing is taxing their own tax. It is utility tax squared. It has been argued that this is a done deal, let's move on. The garbage ratepayers cannot move on. They have to suffer under this deal for 20 years. And this is not a done deal in terms of the utility tax and total garbage rate. The contract allows flexibility to lower both. Thank you.
Thank you.
Denise Bergman. I can wait for, I'm fine with you. Would you please pass on the public comment? Yes.
Marilyn Butler.
Marilyn Butler, 420 East Poplar. I simply want to report in that I had a lot of very good conversations this past week about shifting our city government from a commission to a council. I was able to collect quite a number of signatures from people who were enthusiastic about the change and about the opportunity to vote on it. I wanted especially, though, to report on a couple of people I talked to who weren't really sure they knew enough about the issue to make a decision now, and they weren't really sure they would support a change once they found out more, but that they strongly supported the right of the public to vote on this and the opportunity to vote on this. And so I wanted to let you know how I had spent my week, and it was really very good and filled with, as I said, a lot of very productive conversations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Olson.
I'd like to start off reading something from the City of Shelton Commissioner's website. This is a resolution that's been passed. Now therefore, the City Commission of Shelton does hereby affirm and resolve that the following core beliefs shall serve as guidelines for the conduct of affairs by all branches of city government. I'm going to read you just one of them. We believe that Shelton should be a visionary city, encouraging its citizens and their government to look to the future beyond the present generation and to bring such ideas to public discussion and to enhance a sense of community identity. Well, at last week's non-vote, you guys failed us miserably. You circumvented democracy in your own attempt to shape your own personal beliefs on this. So the state, in its wisdom, not wanting that kind of level of government to the people, has given the people the ability
to circumvent you by collecting enough signatures to put this on the ballot. As Marilyn said, we spent 5 days gathering signatures. I have to report that every past mayor and commissioner signed this, including one county commissioner supports this. And as she also stated, many people could care less actually about this change of government, that they were highly irritated that 2 people could take their vote away from them. So I'd like to say that today we turned in over 200 signatures. We only need 157. This is at the auditor's office now being counted, and it'll be on the ballot in November. And we can thank you guys.
Thank you for your comments.
No other
That concludes.
person has signed up.
All right, next we're moving on to the consent agenda. Are we ready for reading the consent agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Please.
Vouchers number 15021 through 15083 in the amount of $189,453.60. And voucher number 15084 in the amount of $220.50.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
I second that.
There's a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The agenda passes. All right, we have a business agenda, and the first item on that is the Upper Mountain View Pressure Zone Phase 1 closeout, and that information will be given to us by our Public Works Director, Gregory.
Thanks, Mayor, Commissioners. We are looking to close out a couple of projects tonight, or bring them forward to you tonight for closeout. The first of which is Mountain View Upper Pressure Zone, Phase 1. This was the actual tank located up by Mason County Public Works, and also a main extension that extended from the main on Highway 102, up to the tank location. And that work was completed, and we are looking to close out now and start the actual warranty period of 1 year. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those.
I have no questions.
I'm not sure which of these, even at this time, I know they were so closely connected, but I had a question about hookups, the hookups to the tank, the hookups to the pressure zone. I know we were waiting for State Patrol and some others. How is that going?
Tractor Supply is hooked up, and they are using water. Washington State Patrol has gone out to bid at this point, and actually have awarded one. They had one bidder to do the work on site, so they should be starting that work here very shortly, and they will be the second one that is hooked up. And we have also been in talks with some others to also get hooked up. The latecomers agreement that was signed that reduced the rates by basically half has been a driver for some of the folks out there to have an incentive to get hooked up. So we are still pursuing users at this time.
But we're making progress, and so we're able to provide water out there.
We are at this point, yes.
Okay, great.
Any other questions?
None.
Okay, so what you are recommending to do, that we concur and place this on the capital projects final acceptance form for the Upper Mountain View Pressure Zone Phase 1 on August 7th, 2017 action agenda, and it appears we concur to do that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think you're up next.
I think I'm up next.
This is
So
the Upper Mountain, I'm sorry, I was going to name it. Go ahead, you take it.
basically, same thing, part of a bigger project. Upper Mountain View Pressure Zone Phase 1B was the Well 3 rehab, and also the extension from Well 3 at the intersection close to Shelton Springs Road and Wallace Nealon, up to across from the high school at the Tarragon PRB station. And again, we are looking for closeout to start the warranty period on this phase of the project also.
Well, Shelton pays its bills, and we have to move forward and make sure we complete the projects that we've committed to. And so this is what we have to do. So any other questions or comments?
Sounds good.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much. All right, next is a rate study proposal here by Logan Brady.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. The water and sewer rates have been a hot topic for quite a while. And the question of whether or not we can save ratepayers some money. We figured the most appropriate way to do that would be to bring in professionals who do that for a living and have them perform a rate study on our water and sewer. We have selected FCS, company who did our last study, to update our financial analysis and operating revenues and plug them in and see what we can do with water rates and sewer rates.
What I took this and I thought about it all weekend long, and the thought kind of came back to me that I'm not ready to vote on this tonight. What I would like to do myself, and this is my own personal feeling, is to take and meet with staff again and go over if there's some other options for this. The $32,000 price tag is my kind of sticking point here. I did call a few people today, and I just don't feel comfortable with $32,000. This company, I believe, is the same company that did a study for us on this same subject 2 years ago. And so I'm just wondering if there isn't something, a little more leeway in this agreement, because they've already done a lot of the footwork, I think, first. So my personal feelings are is that this time I would like to go back and relook at the information and see if there isn't some other other options. And what came to me is I think a year or so ago, we were asked to drill a new well, $1.3 million, and I was bold enough to say, you know, I need some other options. Is there anything else we can do? And as we all know, I'm sure if we've read the papers, and of course we believe everything in the papers, we didn't have to drill any new well at all. And so just one little thing, you know, that I said, hey, I want some other options. And so I thought that was a great savings to the city of Shelton. $32,000 isn't $1.3 million, but I'm not comfortable with spending $32,000 at this point until I've seen some other information. And maybe this is what we have to do, but it falls in line with the way I like to do things. And that's to think about them and make sure before I vote what I'm voting on.
Okay, just
I can clarify a little bit. So this is not a full study of either the water or sewer rate. This is an update to the model that this group put together before. So the other option here would be to go out for an RFP. And the last time that we had a water and sewer rate study, they were each about $250,000.
Wow.
So this, again, is not a comprehensive study at all. This is just an update to the model that was done before.
How much did we spend 2 years ago?
Total for the last water plus the last sewer was around $500,000 for those comprehensive studies, which this was part of. So to go out again, you would have somebody that's going to start from scratch versus this group that is essentially building on what they did before and clarifying what we're looking at in the future.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to look at it again.
they also only looked at sewer rates 2 years ago. Water rates haven't been looked at since 2010, and they're only projected out to 2018. So we will need to do that soon. We were also able to look through our water and sewer budget, and we would be able to cover the cost by splitting it evenly in this year's budget between sewer and water.
So I have a question. When the report is here, assuming that we do go forward with this report, that would give us a real clear, up-to-date idea on what our rates need to be. So if we discover, they could make a recommendation that the rates would be less, but they could also make a recommendation that we aren't collecting what we need to at this time?
Certainly.
Any other questions or comments on this? If I have an uncertainty about some, I don't vote yes. So I need to go back and take a look at this again.
Do we have a deadline on this as far as, are we bound legally to have a rate study done every few years? Or do we just run the danger of not collecting adequate funds?
Yeah, I think you just run the risk of not having updated projections so that you aren't accurately billing your water and sewer.
Okay, which could potentially lead to a huge increase when we do have the study done?
It's hard to say. It'd be a guess either way. But
Okay.
So I have a question, and you may not be able to answer it, but it's something to think about. If we went and spent this almost $32,000 for this rate study to figure out how to lower the rates, how long would it take to pay off that $32,000 in lowered rates? And you probably don't have probably can't
depend on
answer
what they
that.
were lowered to.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, even 20% or 15%. It'd take
20% lowered rates.
take a long time, wouldn't it, to get back that 31,000 that
We
we.
have 4,600 ratepayers. So
We've got revenue of about 5.5 million through water and sewer, so 20% of that, $1 million or more.
Okay.
But really, this rate study is looking at, and I think Commissioner Moore really hit on it, you're really looking at what you need to be charging, and for us to have an understanding, we've really got a fairly new staff that doesn't understand exactly what we're collecting rates for. So this would certainly give us the understanding that we would know what infrastructure was projected to be put into place, what maintenance was projected to be done, and without understanding this, because this model is not real clear. So until we get that done, we really can't look at whether we can lower rates in the future until we have an understanding of what needs to be taken care of and where those funds are coming from.
Would we lose that opportunity if we waited 1 week?
They're not asking.
We're not asking you to
No.
vote on it
No, no,
now.
no,
We're
no, but you're
you
asking
to
to place-
concur to move it forward
It's
to
on the
next week.
agenda.
Yeah.
For next
Or actually to the 7th, so you've got a couple of weeks.
Okay. So,
Are there questions that because I think the people that you need to answer any questions now are here. If you have specific questions, we can answer them and get back to you before the 7th.
well, we're not voting on it tonight, and we have 2 weeks to, I just want to sit down and talk to you about this study a little bit more in depth. So, I don't have a problem with passing it on. We're not voting on it tonight, so.
Yeah.
Sounds like we're okay. We concur to move it forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I'd rather ask the questions than later on regret what I've done. So,
So did you say you can split that $32,000 in half?
We are going to split it equally between water and sewer, and we will find, out of the current budget for 2017, we will, if we have to cut some things out of water and sewer, we will certainly do that to cover this in the 2017 budget. So we're not asking for any additional funding.
So that would come out of the reserve funds for the two utilities?
We would not even take it out of reserve funds. We would find a way to pay for it within those budgets of 2017.
but we will still spend $32,000.
We would still spend the money, yes, that is correct.
Yeah, I think we just talked, this week, talking over, and so it looks like what you're asking at this point is just to place it on an action agenda, and we can vote on it at that time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right, so I think we concur to do that for August 7th, 2017. Thank you very much. All right, next is another situation coming forward from our department head of the Public Works Department, Gregory.
So, Mayor, Commissioners, through looking at rates and our discussion through permit fees over the last few months, we have been looking at our water connections And right now with the water connections for residential homes, the city crews actually do the physical connection from the main. They tap the main and then from the main up to the meter and then actually set the meter. And then everything from the meter to the residence would be on the homeowner. And it is the only function for connections that is done by city crews. Every other connection, whether it be commercial, water, or sewer, is done by a private contractor. And just to have some uniformity throughout the utilities, we are proposing to have the same language and change not only the Shelton Municipal Code, but also the construction standards, the Shelton construction standards, to move forward with having a contractor make that hookup instead of city crews. And moving forward with this, it gives those utilities a better understanding of what their budgets will look like on a year-to-year basis, because there could be, depending on these rates, these fee structures that we put into place, if we get a boom in housing and we've got city crews out doing hookups, that certainly is a cost that we are going to incur instead of having a private contractor go and do that and actually charge the property owner the actual cost of doing business.
So it'll be a different company that would actually charge the homeowner?
It will be a licensed contractor that will be tapping the main and then running from the main to the meter.
All right.
I think this is a good idea.
Very good.
So, do we concur to pass this on to the action agenda?
I had a question first, and it's within the ordinance. We talked about it a little bit. Is that there isn't really an allowance for if someone were to choose to put 3 small homes on one parcel, with the requirement that each home have its own service. So I'd like to look at some way, like we talked about doing for the sewer, where we have the sewer main and then we have laterals. Is there a way that we can look at that in the event that we do have application for the smaller homes on the lots?
We could certainly take, you're talking tiny homes.
Yes, I am.
We certainly could take a look at that, because right now that's not allowed. If you had duplexes, both of them would need individual services. So, or both units would need individual services. So at this point, through the Shelton Municipal Code, that would not be allowed. So we could certainly take a look at that and see what that would look like with not only water, but sewer also. But that would be something I think we would need to see some sort of proposal of what that actually looked like, number of houses, size of lot, to move forward with anything. We can certainly take a look at that and bring that back.
Okay, well, I know we haven't had any applications yet, but I think it would be more proactive if we had a plan in place for when that happens. So I would appreciate you looking at that.
We will certainly take a look at it. You're welcome.
All right, so we concur to place this item on the August 7th, 2017 action agenda.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, next is administration.
Could we ask for a first reading of both of the ordinances?
Well, we absolutely should ask for that. Let's do that.
Ordinance number 1902-0717, an ordinance of the City of Sheldon, Washington, relating to the water connections, amending section 15.12.010 and 15.12.060 in the Sheldon Municipal Code. Ordinance number 1903-071, an ordinance of the City of Shelton, Washington, relating to the water connections, amending section 4.05 to the City of Shelton design and construction standards.
All right, thank you very much. This is on the action agenda for August 7th. Next is administration reports. And so we have some updates, and first it looks like it's Shelby CONKLIN.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I have a few things from the court to update you with. We now have a link with DOL that allows us online access to clear or adjudicate MPA's failures to appear so people can get their licenses renewed immediately. That's been available for some time, but we had not used it because they could also pick up a piece of paper and take it to the Department of Licensing. So the Department of Licensing no longer allows their field officers to do that, so it became more important that we just provide that service here. So we got it all linked up and it's working fine. The next thing you know, we've taken delivery of the MTA van for community service. It's in the city shop, getting some modifications and additions like a trailer hitch so they can pull the trailer and seat covers, that kind of thing. And we, again, really appreciate the Transit Authority giving us or granting us this van, so thanks to them again. We're working on the Public Defense Grant for 2018. This grant cycle is a 2-year period, and we just also sent in the 2017 mid-year grant. Then on July 12th, Governor Inslee appointed Judge Steele as the judiciary member of the Washington State Traffic Safety Commission. That commission is made up of 10 members. One is the governor, who is the chair of that, and there's an Association of Washington Cities person and an Association of Washington Counties, and the remaining members are the Chief of the State Patrol, the Secretary of Transportation, Director of Departmental Licensing, Secretary of Health, Superintendent of Public Instruction, Assistant Secretary for the Aging and Long-Term Support Administration for the DSHS. So congratulations to Judge Steele. We are in the community service, continue to do what community service has been doing, partnering with other city departments. Streets and Storm Department, we did rock drainage beds at Pioneer Way. Went into one of the abandoned camps on Northcliffe, having had Officer Campbell assist, making sure it was not active, and so they cleaned that up. We didn't trim the library grounds, picked up branches all over Johnson Park, and we mowed and picked up at the log monument. For the community, they are cutting, splitting, and stacking firewood for the wood donation program. Cleaned up trees and trimmed bush on multiple streets, some of them at the request of the community members. And their ongoing projects are picking up litter in the city limits, as you are aware of, and the firewood and cleaning and stacking wood, not cleaning, sorry, splitting and stacking the wood. They have one person currently that's at requested yard care that they're processing paperwork for. So I'm not going to list all of the areas where they've done all those things for you, but they are active and it's going well. Thank you.
I had a question. So on the fire, you're talking about firewood.
Mm-hmm.
So your group, do they cut with chainsaws? They cut extra?
Yes, limitedly.
Limitedly?
Yes, there are a few folks on that work who that do that for a living. So once they can prove and show that they know how to operate a chainsaw safely, then that person could do it, or the community service supervisor.
And this wood goes to, how is that firewood delegated out?
It's so, people that qualify for reduced water rates can, and live in the city limits, can contact the community service supervisor and express a desire for some wood, and she checks to make sure that they're qualified that way, and then they just take out wood to their places and deliver it for them.
That's a great deal. So if they're ever lacking wood, I know where there's a whole bunch of downed trees, and so, I mean, if they needed firewood, I know about that, but it doesn't sound like you're really set up to be in the, making a number of cords of firewood. You're kind of doing this as you run across dead trees or things like that.
Usually it's wood that has been pointed out that's available by the Public Works Department or the Parks Department or something like that. And so they're just using wood that's usually already down.
Okay. Any other questions?
That's really good.
Great. Thank you very much. Next, we have our own fire chief, Tim McKern.
Mr. Mayor, Commission, just some updates on numbers. You got some things in there regarding for our district itself is the important part of the fact that we put our burn ban on, and that was probably way sooner than we really wanted to do that. But I can tell you it's fairly dry out there. I encourage folks to make sure they make the fire-wise community, so don't put that bush right next to your house. Take a look at it, because you certainly want to be the landscapers, not have our firemen be landscapers when they come out and have to remove some of those things. Our numbers out there, you see 2989 is for the district and 1400 for the city. We're averaging about 15 calls a day total, about 7 in the city. Our magic time actually has moved to a Saturday at 4 o'clock. Obviously, we're seeing the population increases. We've seen lots and lots of traffic on the weekends. The community's here, lots of events going on. And so we're certainly on our education plan. We're in the middle of our pancake breakfast. We move around to different stations in different areas, and they've been very well attended. Alan Day last weekend was extremely well attended. And our whole focus is to educate them on being fire-wise, being safe with things as you go out there. We've approved recreational fires, and I think to a point where they'll probably be okay. It wouldn't surprise me in sometime in August that we also cancel those as well. We've had some folks recently that they've got out of hand. Remember that they got to be approved, Department of Natural Resources pits, and there's some other things there. So we had a fire yesterday behind Fred Meyer, and I have to tell you, I truly witnessed it, and it rapidly spread within just a few seconds. And so we have to be really careful out there with that stuff. So that's our report. Questions, comments?
Did you have any fires or any calls due to 4th of July fireworks in the city?
Actually, our numbers were down. We actually had 48 through the 4th of July versus 63 last year, so our numbers were down.
Okay.
I could not ask you, I know that the city has an ordinance on fireworks, and you'd have to refer to the police chief on. I've heard some of the comments out there, and I know that one of their guys was pretty busy as it went out there. There are still some folks that still don't understand that the ordinance is out there for fireworks. I know we've had a little bit of community traffic and folks saying we'd like to put it on county-wide. We encourage and send them to the county office. It's certainly something we're not going to say, no, we're not for it. By all means, putting a firework ban on would certainly help us all the way around. So it was actually down. So that's
Okay,
good news.
good.
Other questions?
Sounds good. Thank you very much. Next is our police chief, Darren Moody.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Just to give you kind of an update on some things going on. We just recently closed a clerk's position at the police department, so we'll be hiring for the clerks up front to help Sarah and give her some help. We just recently hired a new police officer at the Trent Latch has been hired by the city of Shelton, and you'll see him out on patrol. Next Tuesday, first Tuesday in August every year is National Night Out. So we will be visiting our neighborhood watch groups. As a group, we'll go around and say hi to some of the neighborhood watch groups. You are all encouraged to join us if you want to. You just get a hold of Ryan and we can schedule that up for you. We just finished up our annual report from last year. Unfortunately, there's some shortages in the state staffing and shortages in our own staffing. And we have to wait for the numbers back from the state, but we got those. And they look pretty good for 2016. Some of the highlights of 16 was we hired 3 new officers, Hector Diaz, Charles Taylor, and Chris Downs, who's currently in the academy and will be graduating within the next few weeks. Last year, we handled well over 10,000 calls for service for 2016 in the city of Shelton. And some of the other numbers from that, just to give you a couple ideas of what went on. Burglary last year dropped by 17%, vandalism by 38%, and stolen property crimes by 16, robbery by 50%, theft by 20%. So with increases we saw that are alarming, our weapons laws violations went up. In other words, people are carrying weapons out there that are dealing with officers on a regular basis. In addition to that, we saw an increase in motor vehicle theft in 2016, which was recognized throughout the state. It wasn't just Shelton, but we took some money from grant funding, and we were able to hand out the clubs, as you know, and be able to help people combat some of the vehicle theft going on. Aggravated assaults was the other numbers that were down. And like I said, we went to staff last year in 2016, attended over 2,000 hours of training in 2016. So that gives you an idea of what we're doing out there. And we just renewed our school resource officer contract with the school district to enjoy another few years of outstanding relationships with them with our school resource officer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the work that you are doing for the city of Shelton. All right, next is Mr. Mark Ziegler.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. A couple of reports out of the different divisions in the Community Development Department. Starting this week, FEMA will be distributing flood maps. The public comment period will last for 90 days. During that time, the public has the right to appeal those flood maps to the city of Shelton, and the city would represent those appeals to FEMA. As interestingly enough, we really don't have much information as far as those flood maps go. The flood maps come down from FEMA. They dictate through their research where those flood areas would occur within a 100-year flood event. And so we may incur some staff time if anybody appeals that and carry that through. But if we don't see anything, that after that 90-day period, the city would have 90 days to therefore adopt those flood maps of their own, with the understanding that if we don't, that we're at risk of being excluded from the National Flood Insurance Program. So it's really within the city's best interest to follow that. So we'll keep you up to date when that 90-day period ends, and be bringing forward a resolution to adopt those flood maps.
Have you seen those? Do you know if
Yes.
the boundaries have changed?
Actually, they did change. The net total of parcels in the city actually reduced that are within those flood zones. I can't give you the exact number off the top of my head tonight, but they did reduce, and I can give you those numbers here at a later date.
Yeah, I was just curious about that. I know that can be a problem.
Parks and Recreation Department, is in full tilt right now. As you're well aware, we finished some sports programs for youth this past couple weeks. Have a new soccer program starting next week. The adult softball league is up and running through middle of August. We've got several large events occurring in Eland Park, including Music in the Park series, which runs through August 10th. That's conducted by Scoop and Rotary. And then the Shelton Kiwanis Pancake Breakfast at the end of the month on July 30th. So we're happy to host those events for the community and provide those services at the ever popular Newland Park. We have an opening for a part-time employee here in the Civic Center to manage events and set up tables and chairs. So we want to get that out as much as we can to let people know if they want to supplement their income or looking for part-time work. We have an opportunity downstairs here in the Civic Center. And the Arts Commission is calling for artists for submittals for the rotating art gallery with the deadline of July 28th. It's Friday. Want to report on the customer service desk upstairs. The customer service center is up and running, I think with really good reviews. I think it's being accepted quite well by the public. And I really wanted to give another kudos to Kurt Johnson, who managed that project and did a great job in facilitating all the different pieces that needed to come together to make that work and have the center function as well as it does now. In the building department, so far in July we received 33 permits. 14 single-family residents or duplexes for the year. This year, none were received in July. The remainder of those permits are alterations, re-roofs, mechanical, plumbing, windows, and things like that. And staff is working on completing the punch list for a temporary COO at Sierra Pacific, so they're getting closer to completing their projects down there, and we're working diligently with them to see that they're able to get those completed and they're off and running with full operations. Yeah, to answer your questions.
What date did you say is the cutoff for the rotating art?
Friday.
The 28th?
5 p.m.
Okay.
So when you're dealing with FEMA, do you work with the county too? Does FEMA approach the city totally separate? You're kind of together on that, aren't you?
They're two separate processes, but it's the same process, just with both entities. So the county has to adopt the flood maps the same as the city does as well.
Do you communicate with them? Do you talk about, I mean, do you guys anything that works interlocal kind of like?
Not necessarily, no. We interacted based on some public meetings up in Belfair. I forget what that was now, a couple months ago. And so county and city staff were there, as well as FEMA staff and other local jurisdictions at the same time. But really, our jurisdiction, the city of Shelton, city limits, will manage the properties within the city.
This is for flood stuff, because we're not talking
Flood
about.
zone maps.
Yeah, we're not talking about emergency. Not talking about earthquakes and things, because that's a different.
Correct. These are flood zone maps only, and the requirements based on those properties, those parcels being within a flood zone. So it changes some of the building code requirements based on building the house within the flood zone.
All right. Any other questions or comments from Mark Ziegler?
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next is, we'll turn the meeting over to our city manager, Ryan Wheaton.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. 3 things tonight. One, wanted to give you a heads up that the Sidewalk Cafe pilot program that we've been working on with the local business, we're about ready to move forward with that. So Smoke and Mo's has been working with Public Works staff and planning for the last month or two to figure out a way to open up a sidewalk portion of their restaurant. We're going to have some crews down doing some work on that tomorrow, but we're excited to move forward. They got approval through the Liquor Control Board. That we will start evaluating as soon as it goes in and hopefully report back to you before the end of the year to figure out how we can move forward, hopefully with a larger program across the city. Second is a little bit of bad news. Last week, you approved a resolution to support a curb grant application, and today we got word that that was a victim of the capital budget shortfall. So that program is on hold now. We still have our application, and we're hoping that as they revive talks, hopefully they can get something done that will bring that program back to life. And the last thing, it was noted earlier, but we did get notice from the election supervisor today that over 220 signatures were turned in for a petition to put the ballot measure forward in November, and I wanted to let you know that they told us they would take a look at validating those signatures and get back to us this week.
Okay.
All right.
So Ryan, can you tell us what the process is then once those signatures are validated?
From what they explained to us, if enough signatures are validated, and they indicated that about 157 are required based on the last municipal election. Once they validate them, if they find enough signatures, then it would come back to us, and we would bring back a resolution to put that ballot measure forward that was noted in the petition.
So with 220 signatures and the requirement only being 157, we can be fairly assured that there are enough signatures to move forward?
I would not answer that question because I don't have anything to do with validating signatures. They didn't note that when they called, but certainly they did tell us that the requirement's 157 and that over 220 were turned in.
Okay.
Is there anything more?
That's all that I have.
Actually, I would like to suggest that since we have collected all those signatures, I would like to suggest that we move forward with that resolution before next week. Next week is the very last day that we can do it, next Monday. So I wonder if you two are amenable to moving forward with it now.
What I would do is follow the advice of our city administrator And if he knows the process, because I think we have to do that. I mean, you've collected the signatures. So, but we don't know for sure that those signatures are verified, but whatever the process is, I'm sure that we want to make sure that we do what the next step is.
There are two separate processes that are similar in their outcome. One was what was brought forward last week, which the three of you can put a ballot measure forward without any petition signatures. And the separate, which Commissioner Moore asked about, would be that the petition goes forward, gets validated, and then is brought to you to put on the ballot. So if you're asking about the petitions, we can't do that because we don't have.
Exactly.
But if you're asking to go back to the resolution from last week, that would be a separate matter that the three of you can decide.
Okay.
I feel comfortable with what we did last week, so I would wait and see how the signatures turn out. That's what I would do.
Well, I think that it's fairly clear that our community has spoken and that they are in favor of this. So I don't really see a reason to put it off a week. I would be happy to make the motion again.
Well, you can make the motion.
I will.
Sure.
Okay, thank you. And I'm hopeful I won't get a second this week. I move to adopt Resolution 1103-0717, a resolution providing for the submission of a proposition to the voters asking whether the City of Shelton should adopt the council manager form of government and abandon the commissioner form of government, and requesting the Mason County Auditor to conduct that general election on November 7th, 2017.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second to the motion?
Well, I have a question. Can I do a question?
First, usually you second the motion, and then we have the questions, then we vote. So,
Well, I would like clarification before I,
Robert Rules of Order, and we want to make sure that we follow Robert Rules of Order, is that we have a second, fair enough, and then we discuss, and then we vote. You don't have to vote yes if you second the motion. So, questions are
Okay.
very wonderful.
so I can't ask the
You
question?
certainly can, just second it first.
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Now, is there any further discussion?
I do have a question. It looks like the numbers have come in for them, but they won't be verified until the signatures are verified, right? So what if we put this forward, and what if it comes up short several votes or several signatures because the signatures got verified and maybe a couple were in the county that didn't know I don't know, there's all sorts of things.
So if you voted, it would go on the ballot regardless. And we didn't ask this question, but my guess is that the elections team probably won't have, at that point, they may not validate them because it doesn't matter if they're going to be on the ballot.
Yes, this process would circumvent the ballots. This would be the commission resolution.
Well, my opinion is that we got the signatures and it's going to go on the ballot no matter what.
Not necessarily, because if those signatures aren't right, if they've got 50 signatures that were not registered voters inside the city limits of Shelton, not saying that's a possibility, but if that happened, then it would. No, we don't. No, we don't yell comments from them. We don't have a back and forth with the audience. Okay, we're talking, this commission is discussing.
I understand.
No, we don't.
Honey, darling,
No, okay.
I taught third grade, I understand.
Well, yeah, we're just following the rules that we've set in place. So, we're having a discussion. So, what happens is, if those signatures are not correct, this will not go on the ballot. If they are correct, it will go on the ballot. I say let it go and do its process. And if the signature, I don't know if they're all good or not. They may not be. So, I would just continue to do exactly, usually when I make a decision, I stay with it. And so that's why I would not vote for this resolution. But there are 3 commissioners, as we know. So, I would just let it do its course. They probably got it. 200
Well, I
some
would think
signatures.
so.
But
So
I
I
don't
guess,
know that.
I guess this would give you an opportunity to represent what the people evidently want. I mean, in 4 days, we got those many signatures gathered.
Well, then, I guess we're not breaking any PDC rules to talk about this at this point, are we? Then I'd be happy to speak on this issue. This issue didn't come from the people. Okay, this resolution came from what I call is the disgruntled employee, ex-employee group. This motion came from a past commissioner that got voted out of office, someone else that ran for a commissioner seat that didn't win the election, and a commissioner that is 1 week from a primary election. That's where this came from. This did not come from the citizens. I didn't see a mass of citizens come. Last week when we discussed this, there was like 2 or 3 people that spoke about it. So this did not come from the citizens. This came from a group that wants to place themselves in this position and be that 7-person commission, of which, if it's set up this way, they have their own mayor, who they appoint once a year from them, and that mayor is for once a year. The citizens don't vote on a mayor. The citizens get the mayor that the 7-person group gets. So, in my opinion, I don't like the timing, especially 1 week before primary. And let me finish, please. And I do not like the fact that it came from the people that got voted out of this office, or people that didn't get the votes to be in this office, and that here we are trying to say, oh great, let's have those 4 people come on back and be a member of this great team. I don't like that timing, and I really don't like the motivation. That's my honest feelings, and seeing as how we've opened up this situation now, had a number of citizens, not one citizen. Now, they may have came to you, but not one citizen came to me before this was run and said, oh, gee, this is a great idea. Let's have 7 people instead of 3 people because you are doing such a lousy job. I think we've been doing a great job. We as a team have, because we are coming up with Basin 3, possibly 100% funded, grant funded. We have turned down a $1.3 million well. In our wisdom, we asked the questions and we stopped that project. Railroad Avenue is looking good.
This is off of the subject.
No, it's not off the subject at all.
It is off the subject.
Well, then I'm going off the subject. Do you have a rule that says I can't talk about this?
I believe there is a point.
Robert had a rule.
You got the point?
Here, can a boy talk?
No. Okay, so let's just be real clear. And this is all videoed and they're getting everywhere. This is, if there's smoke, there's a fire, and this is what you call a mini coup takeover of the city commission. This was not a broad-based citizen thing. This was a group of people that are trying to go out and running out and getting signatures to circumvent the voter-elected commission and replace it with 7 people, of which they can pick their own mayor once a year and have their own group and supposedly represent this community in all fairness. And this has been successful. The past 16 months has been extremely successful, and this is an attack against this commission. So, now you want to talk, and you have every right to.
Yes, I do. Thank you. There are so many points that you have made that I am astounded by.
Well,
Number 1, I cannot believe that once again you're questioning the motivation. Do you realize you would still be grandfathered in?
it's not about me.
No, it is about you.
It's
You're
not
concerned that
about
we want
me.
a different mayor. That was very clear.
It's not
That was
about me.
very clear, Gary.
Well,
Okay, would you let me speak, please?
absolutely.
I think that you're calling into question the motivation of the citizens is ridiculous, and I don't believe, in my personal opinion, for 1 second that no citizen has talked to you about this. Because I know even Mike McCarty was urging us to move forward with this. Granted, he's not a citizen, but he was the director of AWC and was very closely involved with our city for a number of years. So don't pretend like...
I'm not pretending.
I'm talking, please.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think it's clearly insulting that you would make this an issue all about you and not about the citizens. And clearly there are more than 3 or 4 people that signed this petition. You're the one who challenged the petition. You could have, if you don't think that people want it, I don't see what your reluctance to put it on the ballot is.
Can I speak?
No, I'm not finished yet.
Okay, and we'll wait till you're done.
So all of the points that you made it a point to mention that were off subject were not necessarily truthful either, as far as your 100% grant funding. That's fallacy on your part. That is not true.
We are close.
How close are we? We're about 13.
Well, the deal is, let's just say that I believe we are close to that. Now, if that's wrong, I said we are close. I didn't say we had.
Oh, I thought you said 100% grant.
We are close to 100% grant funding for Basin 3, and I hope we can do that, yes.
Well, so this is my question now.
Sure.
And Kathy we still have a
Absolutely,
motion on the table.
and she can talk to you.
Well, yeah, let's give her an opportunity for a minute. So you are bound by law to put this on the ballot when those signatures are verified. Are you
Yes.
going to still argue
Nope,
about it then?
not at all. I will follow the law 100%. And if you're confident in those signatures, and if they are verified, I will be the first to sign my name on putting it before people. That's what it is.
Okay. Well, I am
What would I-
consulted
I
on
can't break the
behalf of
law.
our citizens.
Well, a lot of citizens have been insulted about other things too. So, we can argue, there's nothing wrong with this, ladies and gentlemen. This is called public debate. This is as transparent as it gets. So, Commissioner Moore, you've been listening to this brilliantly enlightening discussion. Do you have any comments that you'd like to enter in for the record?
I would really like to wait to have the signatures verified, is what I'm looking at. And
Okay.
know that I'm 99.99% that they will be, but I want that little bit to be done in the process.
It is what it is, but we have a motion on the floor, so.
Before you vote, will you please take public comment for this, since you're...
We absolutely could, and we have a 3-minute time limit, and so if anybody would like to speak at this time, they can sign in and speak.
I'm still Denise Perlin over there, and I have, sometimes it's hard to understand me, so, but some things I think you will be able to understand. My husband and I were business owners, and we are concerned about, we own active construction, and we are concerned about, as a business person, that this is not the way to have our community in the business. He's a contractor. As a business person, this is what we're looking at, that we need to make sure that our community is properly refunded, not refunded, represented. My mother was the mayor down in Aberdeen. She was 77 years old and ran to be a mayor. And they had a 12-person commission. You have to stop and think about that, 12-person commission. So we've seen one side, and they were the biggest, and Shelton is one of the smallest and not representative of this wonderful community. I help with all the times within our community, with the petitions, with many different things. And that's what our community is about. Like I said, I'm a 3rd grade teacher. I taught GED for 15 years.
Thank you.
And I know about simple civics, and this is a civic lesson. So yes, you don't get to make the choice. The choice is by the citizens. And in this small little town that's growing up so nice, I've lived here 25 years. I may be a newcomer, but I've been very involved. I was in the preservation board for 15 years. Anyway, so I want to say, in honor of people who sign petitions, wave signs, and do buttons. Yeah, we are citizens. Look, and just make sure you go through and make yourself proud.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment at this time? Why don't we let everybody speak that hasn't spoken yet? You can speak after everybody's had, if you speak, would you like to speak, young lady? All you have to do is sign in over here first. I'll make sure everyone has had an opportunity to at least speak once.
I'm Marilyn Ward, 1727 North Cliff Road, and I just want to say that I don't know the population of the city of Shelton, but to me, 157 signatures is not very much. I've only lived here 5 years, and I come from San Diego, so it's a lot bigger place, but that doesn't seem like a representation of the population to me. And I know if somebody had asked me, I wouldn't have signed it. So when I'm sitting here, it sounds like, you know, everybody wants it. But I think that, you know, the best thing to do is to do what you're doing and wait for the signatures. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Is there any other comments or questions at this time? Okay, Mr. Olson, you can come up and speak again.
Mike Olson. I believe I'm the disgruntled former employee that you're referring to.
Probably.
I was the commissioner that was defeated fair and square by Mr. McDowell. I've already publicly stated, as I think Randy will verify, that I would not seek to be a commissioner because 4 years with you was completely insufferable. And you're the reason that this is coming forward. It is all about you. You treat the citizens horribly. You only associate with people who like you or will agree with you because it's been proven over and again that you don't listen to the citizens. So
We got to be kind
really
no. Let me talk for a second.
No,
Mr. Olson, we do not do personal attacks here. Okay?
Oh, is it- is
And
that what you just did?
absolutely. What I'm trying to say is, you are personally attacking. Now, if you want to
appreciate
speak,
that.
listen.
I
I'm the chair of this
apologize
meeting,
for
and
personal attack, and I
if
would like
you
to
want to
continue with
speak,
my
listen.
3 minutes of speaking.
Well, you
if
can speak, but
stop
personal
interrupting
attacks.
me as you have a
I
tendency
don't.
to
Well,
do
I'll
all
just
the
tell you,
time,
we do
Mayor.
not do personal attacks.
I apologize.
Okay, then go on.
Geez, what else can I say here? There's so many more things.
Well, last
Just
was-
that I just think that your actions have proven that we need a better representation of the city. I think that the citizens all want this. There's no reason to not have it. So far in the state, of all the cities, we're the only one, and as far as my experiences, nobody has an issue with 7 people representing their city. We need younger people. We need it to be a part-time job so that people can come off the streets and enter this realm of public government. I think by having a commission, you have an alignment of 2 people who run the city, and people don't like that.
Thank you for your comments, especially ones that weren't personally attacking someone. Okay, now this discussion has gotten close to the end. Is there anybody else that would like to enter into this? Seeing none, we will redirect ourselves back to, I believe, a motion on the floor. Okay, we have a motion. And is there a second? Oh, we actually have a second. So we have a second. So let's just vote. Okay, all those in favor of circumventing the 220 verification votes, and as Commissioner Moore has stated, place this automatically on the ballot. If anybody is in favor of that, signify by saying aye.
May I make a clarification?
Sure.
Is that I think that somewhere in this discussion, the issue has turned to what the people would have the option to vote on. The resolution is not to move to a 7-member commission. It is to give the citizens a right to vote. So I just want to clarify that.
Okay, so do you want to restate the motion?
No, I can if you would like to hear it again.
I've heard it enough. Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, aye.
Aye.
The motion does not pass. So I think we've completed that.
And I want to make myself clear.
Absolutely.
I am not saying I do not want the citizens to have a voice on this. I want the vote, I want the names, signatures verified. That is the reason I'm doing this.
I want 51% of this population to have exactly what they want.
And I do not appreciate it coming out that CRONCE and McDowell turned this down again.
Please.
I'm saying that I want the signatures verified, and that's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, it got a little heated here, but I guess if you're involved with politics and you can't stand heat, then don't be here. So I would like to say that, yes, this is an act of, what do you call, transparent act, how this commission feels about a subject. We do have an election coming up, and that I would encourage everybody to vote.
Oh, excuse me.
Sure.
We're still on administrative comment, right?
Well, whatever.
We still are in that section.
We kind of jumped around a little bit. Where are we at?
I think so.
Okay, I would just like to question, this is like the third week in a row that you have brought up a potential law-breaking issue. And I would just like, if you have an issue, say it.
Law breaking, well, you have to clarify.
You have asked several times over the last few weeks if this is even legal.
I would be happy to clarify that. Can I? What I'm asking about is that we, as a commission, according to Robert Rules of Order, and more importantly, according to the PDC, which is the Public Disclosure Commission, we have certain rules of governance. One of those rules is, when we voted last week to not approve this subject, this 7-person commission, when we voted at that time,
No, to put it on the ballot.
yeah, when we voted to put it on ballot, the rules of the PDC are that we're not supposed to discuss that. We voted on it, that's done. We don't discuss that from this council. Now, are you familiar with that rule?
Yeah, but we did that as part of the meeting.
No, it happened when we got the signatures. When the signatures were turned in, that then opened up the path that we could discuss this. And now, if I'm wrong, Vicki, look, I think you probably, while we're coming to Vicki, look, you know things are getting serious now. Okay, we discussed this option to put this on the ballot, and we chose not to do it at that time. We voted as a commission. This meeting, had the signatures had not been turned in, I believe we voted on an issue. We did not have the right to speak about that issue from our side of this bench until the subject of the votes came in, that the votes had been submitted, which our city manager opened that door. Then that gave us, I believe, then the right to have the spirited debate about the subject. So what I'm saying, I don't want to break PDC rules.
There was
So-
a no vote last week, so
Yeah.
that doesn't even matter. And you were making reference to that prior to last week, as in the last.
So the question is for Vicki to talk and to tell us if that is how, maybe I missed the PDC rules, because we don't want the city to get in trouble with that.
Well, I do believe that there was not a vote last week when the subject was brought up. So there
Died for
was
lack of
a lack
second.
of a second.
Okay.
So it was brought forward, the signatures were received and submitted to the county. So I don't believe that it was not appropriate to have further discussion because there was no vote last week. And as far as breaking the PDC rules, as far as I know, Commissioner Moore has not used any of the city's property, nor did any of the staff participate in the collection of signatures or any of those sorts of things.
So when the
she is
commission
allowed to
made,
do what she wants to
all
do
right,
on
just
her own
for, this
time.
is good for us, because then when this commission makes a judgment, which means this died, well, we didn't, so you're saying when it died for lack of a second, then that doesn't mean if we had voted no, if we had seconded and voted no, then were we allowed to speak about this from this bench if those signatures had not been submitted?
I believe that if it would have been voted in and that there was 2 no votes, that it wouldn't have been brought back up.
that's the point there. So that you asked why I brought something about legalities into it, is because we did take the Robert Rules of Order class, and we do know that we are in communication with the PDC, and we don't want to get in trouble with the PDC.
The other issue that I have is the constant bringing this close to an election.
Yes.
This signature had nothing to do with an election.
Okay, well, it
Just the
didn't matter.
November one.
Yeah, so.
Well, I
Okay.
don't appreciate
Okay.
being insinuated that I'm breaking the law.
What we want to do is bring civility back into this courtroom, and I think we've about passed our, all of our final touches.
That's all I have.
Is that it? All right, so what we're going to do is all walk away friendly, and know that our next meeting will be July 31st, 2017 at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. This meeting is adjourned.